total is a mustard seed. Then nurture it, water it, grow it into that tree in your rainforest. We will be highlighting one of the prevalent social issues in our society. That we love and trust, and by people that are strangers. She knew him. He was the one. He was home where he cooked for her. Listened to every word she ever uttered. He listened to the things she did not say, remembered the random things she liked, remembered her passions, her apprehensions. He saw her, he looked into her eyes and discovered her soul. But it was all complicated. He was complicated. Not sure she was complicated, but here they are apart with other people who do not remember the random things, who choose to forget their passions because the day he forced himself on her, in her, she died just before he became dead to her. Rape is a very serious thing. It should not be overlooked. We need laws that are more comprehensive and progressive. We need hospitals with rape kits. We need an end to victim blaming and shaming. Let us take a look at this thing called rape. A closer look. Welcome to Our Reality with Skye. On today's episode, we will be highlighting a prevalent societal issue, rape. What is rape? Rape is sexual assault, typically with intercourse, forced penetration, essentially non-consensual sexual intercourse. There is hardly any woman who has not encountered near rape. I mean, to the point where there is unwanted sexual advances. Further, many children and women suffer sexual abuse and rape. We're here to know where to draw the line when it comes to sexual activity. Stay tuned as we delve deeper.
It all started last semester. This guy, this boy, showed up in my school a couple of months after the school year started. I didn't notice anything odd at first, and you'd probably think he's a nice person when you first meet him. But after a while, he became known for saying inappropriate things, like way out of line. And he says it like a joke. But the first red flag to me was probably when we were in Spanish. And it was a free period. We were all just hanging out. And then out of the blue, he pokes me on my shoulder. He says, "Hey, does this turn you on?" And he shows me this inappropriate picture, but even though I was disgusted and looked away, I also laughed. It wasn't the humorous kind, though. It was one of those nervous, uncomfortable laughs. And I think he took it the wrong way, as if I was inviting him to do more inappropriate things, and then it quickly escalated to touching or poking my thigh during class. And I remember it was almost the end of the day. We were getting ready to be dismissed from school, and then we were just talking. I don't even remember what we were talking about. I just remember him reaching out and touching my chest and then being dumbfounded. I was shocked. And it doesn't sound believable, but it happened so fast that he did it before I could even stop him. And even when I was on the bus on the way home, I was still thinking about what had happened, still trying to process it. And maybe it doesn't sound that serious to other people, but even now, just looking back makes me feel gross. And do you know what really makes me mad? I still didn't tell him to stop. I just laughed it off like I was dumb. Next day, I came back to school and he did it again, but I learned my lesson. I didn't laugh this time. I was serious. It seemed like he just found it amusing, as he was smiling and laughing the whole time. But then the girl from my Spanish class called me and another girl to the library, and she asked us if the guy had touched any of us or made us uncomfortable. We found out that he did the same thing to all of us, the brushing against our legs, the poking, and together we had the courage to report him. And that didn't do anything. The school didn't do anything at all. He still sat next to me, he still made me uncomfortable. And I'm sure he's still doing it to the other girls. At first, I didn't feel like talking to anybody about it, but then I mentioned it to one of my sisters. When I talked to my sister, it felt nice to get it off my chest. Of course, I'm angry that the school didn't do anything at all, and it seems like it's getting worse. But I know there are a lot of people who are put in the same situation, where they are made to feel uncomfortable, or they feel like they don't know what to do. I feel like I'm not the only one. Maybe after this, others will know it too and will feel more encouraged to talk with somebody or stand up to it.
There's absolutely no excuse for rape. No reason to force a person sexually or threaten a person to have your way with them. Apparently, in these parts, here's what happens. If Kike wears a somewhat revealing dress and goes to Jonathan's house, in the event of forced sexual relations, after she tells her story, what does she hear? I'll tell you what. Everyone proceeds to ask her, Kike, what were you doing in a man's house? Why were you dressed this way for such a meeting? Why were you wearing it? If you did not want it, what were you doing there? My point is, victims of rape are often scared to tell anyone about what happened or even go to the authorities. This victim shaming and blaming should stop. We should offer victims of rape more support, more understanding, more care. So many people have to struggle with this issue on their own because they do not get the necessary support that they need. This should not be so. Did you also know that the Penal Code as well as the criminal laws of Lagos explicitly say that no form of sexual intercourse between spouses can be unlawful? This means that if a husband forces his wife to have sex with him, this should not count as rape. Did you also know that the Penal Code as well as the criminal laws of Lagos explicitly say that no form of sexual intercourse between spouses can be unlawful? This means that if a husband forces his wife to have sex with him, it should not count as rape. It would not count as rape. Therefore, it is not punishable. A ton of people are divided on this. But let us re-examine this. Does it, the fact that you pay a hefty bride price for that Oweri girl mean that, you should force yourself on her that night, that she's absolutely not in the mood for intimacy? No. Our laws on rape need to be revised. Our mentality on rape needs to be changed. Stay tuned. As we said earlier, where do we draw the line regarding sexual relations? At what point is sexual activity rape? How does sexual assault tie into all this? We will talk about the issues and, if possible, reorient ourselves on rape and sexual assault. Remember, we defined rape as essentially non-consensual sexual intercourse. Now, let's talk sexual assault. The issue with the definition of rape is that it is simply not comprehensive enough to, ensure protection of other forms of sexual violence that is not vaginal penetration. Here's what I mean. Penetration of a woman's anus or mouth through penile penetration, or similarly, the penetration of a woman's anus, mouth, or vagina with foreign objects or other body parts does not constitute rape. Now, this is now what we mean as sexual harassment or sexual assault. That's the word I'm looking for. Therefore, such acts of violence can only be prosecuted under Section 330 of the Criminal Code, which is sexual assault, but as I said. Rape carries a life sentence, which I think is very apt. So when someone penetrates a woman with a stick, it is sexual assault. I hope you understand where I'm going with all this. We talked about reorientation regarding rape. What I mean is no means no. Now, what about what I call a coerced yes? By this I mean if you are in a position of authority, a yes could be a form of no. Or the person is saying yes because there's a fear, and that is sexual harassment. Now, in rape, stop no means no. Stop means stop. So if a woman says no or stop, please stop. Do not assume she's playing hard to get. Leave the scene or request that she leaves so that you, the man or person, will not be accused of rape. Typically in these parts, you hear a lot of men say, well, women don't know what they want or they pretend. As a matter of fact, somebody told me girls will be pulling down their undergarments and be saying, I don't want. This he found confusing. Allow me clarify. Dear sir, please, if she has uttered the words no, or she is saying no in any form, if there's hesitation, that sort of thing, please stop. Just stop so that you would not be accused of anything unsavory. Now, we've talked about a lot. I'll give you a moment to ponder all we've discussed. Welcome back. So I guess you took the minute to ponder all that was said previously. And I've been going through my library, and I am realizing that 1 in 4 girls, actually 1 in 4 boys, and 1 in 10 girls under age 18 are victims of sexual violence. So we're not just talking women, we're talking children. And this is statistics given to us according to the UN Children's Fund. A lot is going on, and it's very bothersome. Previously I was saying, please, if a lady is hesitant in any way, shape, or form, stop, so that you won't be accused of anything unsavory. And before I went back, I want you people out there to consider the trauma that comes with rape, or perceived rape. So if she's hesitant in any way, boy, girl, woman, wife, whatever, if she's hesitant in any way, please stop. Now, these are the questions I would like to pose to us today. What is statutory rape? In what space, enclosed or otherwise, Are women and children, boys and girls really safe? After rape, what next? What about the psychological effects? When does a victim blaming and shaming end? What do we even mean by these terms, victim blaming or victim shaming? The first question was, what is statutory rape? By this, we simply mean sex with a minor. Here in Nigeria, if a person has sex with a girl younger than 14, even if it's consensual, it counts as statutory rape. In my humble opinion, this needs to be revised upwards. The second question was, in what space, enclosed or otherwise, are women really safe? I leave that to you, but I'll say this. It is up to us to create a safe place for our sisters, our wives, our daughters, our girls, and women should be safe everywhere, irrespective of what they are wearing. I'll tell you this, a number of men I sampled argued that women should be modestly dressed. Now, this is where our reorientation begins. A woman's mode of dressing should never be seen as an invitation for sex. I'll go over that one more time. A woman's mode of dressing should never be seen as an invitation for sex. Let me drop the grammar. If she is wearing shorts, so it does not mean that she has invited you to intimacy. Not because Kike is wearing a mini dress or a mini skirt or bomb shorts is she saying, please, I want you. The third question was, after rape, what next? The right thing? Report immediately to the authorities, and the appropriate course of action should be taken. If you do not want to go to the police, please consider getting medical help as soon as possible, because you may be at risk of pregnancy or STDs or STIs. Well, if you want the crime to be investigated, the sooner a forensic medical examination is done, or at least proof of rape occurs, the better. And those around the rape victim should know that she needs not only physical but emotional support. This brings me to the psychological effects of rape. Rape can psychologically damage a person, woman or child. Fear of intimacy is an example. Fear of the opposite sex is an example, or fear of the type of perpetrator. Lack of trust, post-traumatic stress disorders, and these can present in various ways, different for different individuals, and also commitment phobia. What I mean by this is, let's say rape occurred at nighttime, for instance. The victim might be afraid of the night or, dark, lonely places. There are also long-term effects. Rape victims have been found to be more depressed generally. They're also anxious and very fearful, and this occurs over a course of decades and even the full lifespan. So I beseech you, before you sexually assault or rape an individual, please consider all that has been said today. Now let's talk about victim shaming. Rape victim shaming is where the victim of rape is held entirely or partially responsible for the rape. Please, let us not do that. Victim shaming is where a rape victim is made to feel less than. It has been known to happen. That when a prospective suitor has come for, let's use Kike for example, all that is told to the guy is, she was raped, and that leaves her thoroughly ashamed of what befell her. The next question: when does victim shaming and blaming end? It ends now, right here, right now. Let us stop it. Let us not be critical. Let us not apportion blame to this person who has gone through so much. Now, here are some of the facts from the Nigerian legislation regarding rape. If you have a person, if you have sex with a person or a girl that is younger than 14, even though it is consensual, it counts as statutory rape here in Nigeria. Welcome back. We're considering legislation in Nigeria. According to legislations, rape is defined as sexual intercourse with a female without her consent. This means that Nigeria does not recognize male victims of rape. We suggest that this be revised. Well, the only exception is in Abuja, which is the capital, and it operates under a different law, which is the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, where gender of the victim does not matter. We beseech the powers that be to revise that law. Also, consent that has been obtained incorrectly includes situations where the perpetrator has used threats, force, intimidation, illegal substances, or fraudulent activity in order to have sex with the victim. The Penal Code, as well as the criminal laws of Lagos, say that no form of sexual intercourse between spouses can be unlawful. We talked about this earlier, and we said that we would try and revise that law, and we're beseeching again powers that be. Note that rape in Nigeria carries a sentence of life imprisonment. So Lagos is taking steps to revise their criminal law, which is great, regarding rape. A standard operating procedure in rape says, report rape immediately to the authorities. On a final note, I'll leave you with these posers, particularly the issues of pseudo-rape and many other things. When I say this pseudo-rape, I mean the fondling, the touching, the groping that happens in open markets. Can you imagine your sister being fondled like that? Or as a father, can you conceive your daughter being sexually assaulted or harassed? Things are happening these days. We live in interesting times, and I'll have you ponder these. Let us put a stop to rape. We owe this duty to humanity. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.